Thank you, Keaton. You're awesome. I always like to give a pause there just in case Keaton decides to sing another song. So we'd like to have an encore from him sometime. If you have your Bibles, turn with me to the book of Matthew, chapter 5, and you'll see my handout right there. It's called the Bible. That's a joke. It didn't work, and it's still not working. I want to wish you a happy new year, and I hope that you're ready to be surprised by God's blessing, because God wants to bless you this year. There's no question about it, and God can bless you. God is blessing you, and God wants to make you a blessing. And you're alive for a reason. It's 2016. And whatever's going on in your life, God can bless you, not just in spite of it, but through that. And He will bless you. And we're going to be studying blessings, and as we study the Beatitudes, which were the foundation for the 12 steps that have changed so many people's lives. And I'm going to be preaching today the greatest sermon ever preached. I said humbly. It's not my sermon, it's Jesus' sermon. The only sermon we have of Jesus Christ, this radical sermon, I'm not going to pull any punches, is the Sermon on the Mount. So prepare to be surprised. I'm always surprised. I have a bad memory. That helps you to always be surprised. But often at Christmas, Jackie just takes care of Christmas because I love my job. I love visiting people in the hospital at Christmas. I love counseling people at Christmas. I love preaching good news at Christmas. I love everything that we do. That's a part of my job. And it's a busy, busy time of the year. And so Jackie, for all these years since we've been married, she just takes care of Christmas for us. And I don't know how many times I'll go up to someone, a friend or acquaintance or one of my children, and I'll say, wow, that's really cool what you have on. Did you get that for Christmas? And they'll say, yeah. And I'll say, who gave it to you? And they'll say, you did. And I try not to act surprised. I'm like, oh, I'm glad it fits. I had so much trouble picking it out, you know. But when we hear the words of Jesus on the Sermon on the Mount, you can't help but be surprised. They fall above everything that you've ever heard before. And in fact, you could have called our church the Church of the Sermon on the Mount. It's very radical words. They're going to be hard to hear and they'll be good to hear. But when I first started this, when we first started this church, I intended that once a year I'd preach on the Sermon on the Mount, because I wanted to be radically committed to Jesus Christ. I just didn't want to be religious. So I memorized the Sermon on the Mount. Some of you guys remember this. And I would just deliver it out of memory. Since that time, I've forgotten the Sermon on the Mount. And I don't trust my memory that much. And it's so important to me that, remember when I was fishing up in Alaska and I caught the biggest king salmon that anyone caught at Sitka, and I had bought the $20 pool so that I was going to win the prize of thousands of dollars, and they had my picture in the paper up at Sitka when they came to meet us when we came in, and they brought this monster salmon. And so just before that salmon, when they told me about how much money I'd win, I said, if I catch the biggest salmon, I'm going to take every kid that wants to in our church that memorizes the Sermon on the Mount up to the Space Needle for dinner. And I'll take them 3 and 4 at a time. I got the idea from Reverend Dale Turner, who took Bill Gates, was the kid who memorized it in his church. And so just when I promised that to God, we had fish on. And it was just like Jaws. I mean, it was like pulling the whole boat. No, not quite. The story grows every year. But throughout the summer, I had the prize, and I spent the prize. I announced to the church. I took 3 and 4 kids at a time that memorized a Sermon on the Mount. Our kids can memorize something when you give them a reason to. And had an interesting discussion. One of the things I was impressed with is how bright the kids of our church are. But at the end of the summer, in the fall, someone caught a bigger king salmon in Sitka, and I didn't win the prize money. But it was a good investment to get as many people as possible to memorize the Sermon on the Mount. Revolutionary words. We're going to be preaching on the Beatitudes, but I want to set the setting of this because it's talking about being blessed. Now, the Greek word for blessed, makarios, was used in Greek literature, and it referred to a specific kind of blessing. It's the kind of blessing that comes when someone is so lucky, like the person that wins the lottery, or the person who is incredibly wealthy and everything goes together for them. They're just so lucky. In fact, it was used in the beginning literature of only of the gods. So if you're Zeus and you're the king of the universe, then you're blessed, you're happy. If you're Aphrodite and you're the most beautiful woman and you're a goddess and you're never going to grow old and you just live on Mount Olympus, I don't know how they believe this, but anyway, you're blessed. Later, it came to mean if you happen to be part of the elite, you're blessed. So if your last name was Caesar, you're blessed. If your last name was Herod, you're blessed. It meant you're so happy, you're so satisfied. There's nothing else that you would ever want. Was Herod happy and satisfied? No. Was Caesar? No. But that's the way the term was used. So Jesus uses this term. He actually probably didn't preach it in Greek. Maybe he preached it in Aramaic, which was the language of the streets. They still speak Aramaic in Lebanon. Remember Mel Brooks' movie was done in Aramaic? And I don't know Aramaic. I've studied a little bit. There's like 8 phrases in the scripture. But I know people that speak Aramaic from Lebanon, and they said that Mel Brooks mispronounced everything in that whole movie, but we wouldn't know, would we? So he may have preached it in the street language of Aramaic, may have preached it in Hebrew. Probably not Hebrew, but I don't know. But there's always some cultural connection to the Hebrew, because he takes this phrase, this poetic phrase, that's a constant term being used in the Old Testament, and it was what we call a Hebrew word group. In other words, it was just become a part of the person. So in Psalm chapter 1, we see the formula for this, which everyone that was from a Jewish background would know, is blessed is the man or woman who does not sit in the seat of scoffers, right? Isn't so cynical. They're blessed. They're happy. They're contented. They're chilled out. They're powerful. They have everything that they need. And Jesus uses this word. Now, I'm going to also set a little setting here, is that Jesus uses the Hebrew poetic style. Now, the Hebrew poetic style, if you're bored during this time, you can draw a picture on your friend's pants next to you. No. The Hebrew poetic style was a form called parallelism. In other words, there's basically 3 different types. There's always comparison, and you'll see that in the lines if you look at the Psalms or even look at the way Jesus teaches, is that he was comparing and contrasting, right? So you'd have, blessed is Bill because he's wearing number 12 of the Seahawks. Then you'd use, say it again. It often says it in the same way. Again, blessed is Rex because he's wearing number 24 of the Seahawks, and he thinks he's Marshawn Lynch. And so often you either have saying the same thing again, or synthetic parallelism, which you say the same thing, but you add more to it, and it's kind of hidden there, or antithetical parallelism, which is the opposite. It's just like counterintuitive. So how did Jesus speak to 4,000 or 5,000 people? Because it says thousands of people were gathered together many times that Jesus speaks, and he didn't have a microphone. Did he have this incredible booming voice like Craig? No. It doesn't say that. He set up in a spot. When I lived in Israel, there's a spot that they take the tourists to look for the Sermon on the Mount. Then there's a spot that all the archaeologists believe the Sermon on the Mount took place. I prefer that spot. It's above the Sea of Galilee, which is blue just like Lake Washington. It's not what you'd think of the desert because you can see Mount Rainier. They actually moved Mount Rainier to Israel. Did you know that? It's called Mount Hermon. It's a glaciated peak. It's in Syria, but you can see it from the Sea of Galilee. And there's a spot back up in the hills that only the archaeologists go to, and it's a natural amphitheater with kind of rocky ground, but it's still fertile soil. And that rocky ground, you can practically whisper, and it would go out to a lot of people. What's interesting about it, especially in the Sermon on the Mount, is that when I was there were natural wildflowers through the whole place. It was just the ground cover. It was just this natural, beautiful little wildflower. And so Jesus comes up and delivers this great moment in human history. So if you look at religious human history from the Judeo-Christian perspective, at least, there are 2 mountain peaks of information that are passed on to humanity, right? One is Mount Sinai. When Moses goes up on the mountain and there's thunder and there's lightning and there's earthquakes when they have to have a war about it. And he gives us 10 no-nos, 10 do-nots. Sounds negative, people, but it's just basic rules that you either are going to break yourself against or not. Things like, thou shalt not kill. It might sound like fun, but don't kill. Thou shalt not commit adultery. It's going to ruin your marriage. It's not good for a marriage. Thou shalt not lie. It's not going to help you in parenting if you lie all the time. It's not going to help you in business if you lie all the time. It's these basic things, and if you read it in detail, it says, so it will go well with you. And then it goes on in detail to explain the blessings and the cursings of that. That's Mount Sinai, where God says, look, here's the 10 commandments. Here's 10 laws, like Newton's laws of nature, only for the way humans are to get along. It's interesting how they apply even in other religions and other philosophies. Then we have the other mountain peak. It's so contrasted because now it's Jesus Christ speaking, and it's the Sermon on the Mount. Instead of using thunder and lightning, which I would like to do, I'd like to, every time I make a point, I wish I could do this. Someday they'll probably have this for us. The technology is advancing. So I make a point, and lightning comes from my finger and like strikes Rex right in the rear. You should do this. I'd have your attention the whole time, wouldn't I? Well, if I was Jesus, I would have done it that way, but Jesus didn't do it that way. What Jesus did is he went up and he just sat down. He's no Adolf Hitler. He's no television evangelist. That's a perfect combination of Jimmy Fallon and Billy Graham. That's just so humorous and good-looking and has this just great motivational style. Jesus sits down, and his words are so antithetical. They're so much the opposite of what everyone would expect that it probably just went out like waves among the people. So it'd be like me speaking to this large crowd, and everyone's wondering how it's going to happen, but I say things like, happy are you. You are so blessed if you're bald. And everyone's like, what? You are so blessed if you're short. You are so blessed if you're sick right now. You are so blessed if you're broke and you've lost all your money. You are so blessed if you're stupid. No. You say things that are just like counterintuitive, and that's what Jesus did, talking about blessing. Now, he's not talking about the age-old question of religion and religious philosophy, which is the theodicy. Why do the righteous suffer? Why do bad things happen to good people? No, he comes along and says, you can make choices that make a difference right now where you're at. So in Matthew 4:17, it summarizes the message of Jesus in one line. Isn't that great that you can do that? And it comes down to a powerful choice that every one of you can make, and I can make it. And it's in the Living Bible, it puts it this way. Turn from sin. Turn from doing what you know is wrong and start doing what you know is right. Turn to God. Here's the revolutionary part. For the kingdom of heaven is at hand. Not someday you're going to be blessed. Someday you're going to be a blessing. It's in the present tense. It's right now. The kingdom of heaven can work in your life right now. And Jesus in the Beatitudes versus the Mount Sinai catches us doing right things. He doesn't say, don't do this or you won't be blessed. He's not basically saying that, although that phrase does come up. He catches us doing something right. He says, Ben, you are so blessed if you're teachable. You're so blessed if you're meek. You're so blessed if you're a peacemaker. And it's like he's recognizing what we don't see. It's going to happen. Every one of you is going to be blessed. It's just a matter of when. It's like we're waiting for our next grandchild. We're so excited. We've been ready for weeks. We're poised. We've got snacks there. We've got all kinds of things. We've got everything that you need. We've got a little feast to have, and we have to eat the feast because it's a salmon. We plan on having a salmon dinner when we have this baby. And the salmon's going to go bad, so we have to go ahead and have the feast without the baby. But sooner or later, and don't do this to my daughter Becca, because everyone's always like, haven't you had that baby yet? You know, it gets to that stage. I went up to her in the 9:30 service and I said, Becca, it's not a matter of if you're going to have a baby. It's a matter of when. So Jesus says these words, if you look at the tense in the Greek, is you're blessed. Even if you're anxious, even if you're overwhelmed, even if you don't have faith, it's going to happen. It's going to happen when you go to heaven, at least. That day in heaven and eternal life, when God who created us in the first place recreates us, and we celebrate, and the lame can run and jump and play basketball, and the bald will get hair again, and we'll see all of our loved ones. You're going to not be worried about your finances and all the other things. You're going to be blessed. It's just a matter of when. And it can be right now. Turn from sin, turn to God, for the kingdom of heaven is at hand. So here's the words of Jesus. In first 8, some people say 9 Beatitudes, and we'll comment about that. We're going to spend 8 weeks on them, which became the foundation for the 12 steps. So I had the privilege of knowing Norman Vincent Peale, Norman and Ruth Peale. We invited them to come and speak here at this church. And Ruth Peale called our house one time. We thought it was someone else joking and playing like they're Ruth Peale. And so I won't even tell you about the conversation because I made a complete fool out of myself until I realized it really was Ruth Peale. And they wanted to come and stay at our house, but they preached her, not at a hotel. And I had the privilege of being mentored by Bruce Larson. Both of them were in a small group in New York with a guy named Bill W., who invented Alcoholics Anonymous and all the other 12-step programs. And he was inspired by the Beatitudes. That's what inspired the 12 steps that are so effective. So Jesus sits down and he teaches them. And this is what he says. I'm reading in the Living Bible. Blessed, blessed, or you're happy. And we want to treat people with dignity and respect, because if you're seeking God, is there any preacher, is there a theologian or a scientist that knows everything in the universe? There's a few people that think they know everything in the universe, right? They talk like they know everything in the universe. But the very first step is humility. So Jesus says if you want to be religious, you have to be humble. If you're humble, then you can say to someone, even that you disagree with, like, that's a nice tie you have. Do you want to have a cup of coffee? That's always been the philosophy of our church. That's why in our church I did something that most pastors couldn't do, is they initiated it. The Muslim clerics from the community came over and wanted to meet with me during all the stuff that's going on and tell me that they were peaceful. So I did. I had them come into my office, and they told me that they're peaceful. I said, I'm glad to hear that. I'm peaceful. Let's be friends. And as we're leaving, that was when we had Chris Seymour here. He was going to surprise his martial arts class, and he had 2 samurai swords, and he had some throwing stars, and he had a Ninja Turtle mask on. And he came walking by. I'm like, hi, Chris. And he's like, hi, Tim. And I'm like, we really are peaceful. He's just playing. Because who would Jesus want to talk to? He talked to prostitutes. He talked to tax collectors. He talked to Roman soldiers. He talked to atheists. He talked to people that were so into the Judaism of the day, they couldn't listen to what he had to say. There was a dialogue. The only way we can do that, this part of the DNA of our church, is to treat people with the respect that we don't know everything. We're humble. Blessed are those who are humble. You're happy if you're humble. Why? For theirs is the kingdom of heaven. In other words, heaven starts to work right in your life. Let me put it another way that a famous writer put it. Seek first to understand, then to be understood. So how much dignity, because we want to bless people, do you treat people that you disagree with? Do you ask questions, have a conversation? One of the books that I'm going to write next, after I get 2 books to write, is What God Wants to Know, because one of the things that God does is he asks lots of questions. Jesus asks questions. It's how he starts a conversation. And we need to learn to ask questions, just to have that sense of humility. Then here's another antithetical statement. Happy are those who are sad. That doesn't make any sense, does it? God blesses those who mourn, for they will be comforted. We'll be preaching more about that later, or talking more about that. God blesses those who are gentle and lowly. That doesn't seem like the way the world works. For the whole earth will belong to them. God blesses those who are hungry and thirsty for justice, for they will receive it in full. You thought I was 20, but I'm 60. I was out having that best day of Christmas, whenever you take everything back and get what you really want, And I was at Value Village, and I was buying a new wardrobe, and I never shop. And I walked up, and the lady said, "Do you have any coupons or discounts?" And I'm like, "I don't know that kind of stuff. No one tells me that information. I don't know if I have any." And the lady behind me shouted out, "Senior discount." And I was like, she must be talking about someone else, not me. I hope that in 2016 you're thankful to be alive. I hope that if you're poor, you think God can bless you. I hope that if you're ill, you think God can bless you. I hope that if you're bald, you think God can bless you. I hope that if you have a loss in your life, that's part of you being human and being lonely, that you still think God can bless you. I hope that if you failed before, you still think God can bless you. Because we have a God that wants to bless us. And we just need to open our eyes and let him bless us. In my lifetime, and I want to have a long life. And I feel so blessed to be around such good people here at Washington Cathedral, and the things that you've already done down in Honduras and now in Kenya, and the things that we've done in the community already are just beyond my wildest dreams. But, I've got another dream. This is a crazy dream. Are you ready for a crazy dream? I think that we can do this in the name of Jesus Christ. Whenever I travel anywhere, Peru, Brazil, any place like that, there's always homeless begging at every corner. Kenya. I think in the Puget Sound area, in our lifetime, that we could solve homelessness for those that choose to be a part of that solution. I think it can be better even than people living in tents. I think we could get property and we could build little houses. I think we could provide jobs for those that want to. I think we could have people that have been through the 12-step program that could see through people that are trying to lead them on and excuses and all kinds of things, that are starting with our church, reaching out to other churches. Wouldn't it be great if every church sponsored some piece of property? We went in and built a whole bunch of homes, and all they need to have is plumbing and heat and make them dry, and then offer as many jobs as we possibly can. We might say that's what the federal government should do. It's not. Federal government does it, and it costs $100 of bureaucratic money to get $1 there. Now, I know this is election year, and I don't take sides in politics, but I've already decided who I'm not going to vote for. That's one thing I know. And there's one person I'm not going to vote for, and anyway, that's a joke, but my jokes aren't working. I have to tell you, cue you laugh. We just need a laugh button up there by the sound tech, right? But I don't think it's solved by government. I think it's solved by good people. Solved by face-to-face. Solved by those of us that go up and knock on the window of someone who's staying in their car, and we get to know them. We take them out for breakfast, and we talk to them. We find out all the complexity. Do they need counseling? Do they need support? Do they need friendship? Do they need an outfit so they can go apply for a job? Do they need interviewing skills? Do they need to feel content enough that they can start at the bottom again? I believe in our lifetime, I'm going to call a council of the smartest and best people. So you won't be able to come, Bill. But no, just the people around that really have a heart for this and just brainstorm, what could we do if we really threw ourselves into it? I think that in our lifetime we could solve that problem. Now, what would happen if we solved that in the Puget Sound? It might go around the world. That if anyone's out begging you, it's because they choose to be out begging. But that problem could be, and that's what Jesus would do. Because it's not a matter of a new religion. It's not a matter of building a big church. It's not a matter of becoming famous. It's a matter of following Jesus Christ. And it's a process. It's hard. I read this Sermon on the Mount, and there's one thing that I want to happen. I want us to have a new word in our vocabulary in our church. You know how when you learn a new word, like, remember the first time you ever said that word that I invented called cool? And it felt clumsy at first, and then now we say it all the time. Some of you are too young to remember that. I didn't invent that word. But pretty soon it becomes what we say all the time. What if in our church we said, bless you? All the time. Bless you. Someone gives you a change back, bless you. You see someone, bless you. In Israel they say, shalom, peace, because there's no peace there. And then the Arabic people, the Muslim people say salam, which is peace too. So they say hi to each other and they say, I hope we can get peace. I hope we can get peace. What if we said, bless you, bless you, bless you, or you're blessed? It'd be like at Christmas time. Isn't it so much fun to be politically incorrect at Christmas and someone says happy holidays and you say Merry Christmas? And they say, well, I'm not a Christian, but Merry Christmas too. They don't have any problem with it. I mean, I don't know why we built it into such an issue. What if that became part of our vocabulary? Because we were thankful to be alive in 2016 in whatever our circumstances are, because we know that God's going to bless us in the midst of those circumstances and that we're going to be a blessing. Now, that's not going to be easy, but it's the right thing to do, and it's the right way to do it. The other day, I stopped by a little coffee place that I stop by from time to time, and I'm not telling any news here that I haven't told Jackie before, but you guys know that I believe Jackie is the most beautiful woman in the world. She's the best wife. You can look at me and see she's a great cook, but she also knows that she makes the worst coffee that's ever been made. To me, she likes it really strong. It can double for motor oil, but early on in our church, everyone used to tease her when she'd make coffee because, you know, Jimmy Jones, he had the Kool-Aid where everyone died when they drank it. They called Jackie's coffee Jackie Jones coffee. So she has her coffee for her, and I don't drink from it. I go by a little place, and I went by the little place to get a cup of coffee on the way to work. I have 1 cup of coffee a day usually. And I came by there, and the person in front of me bought my coffee. And I said, do they know me? And they said, I don't know. And I said, well, I'm going to buy the coffee for the car behind me, which you guys have all been caught in these kind of things before. Then the young lady came back, and she said, oh, I got really bad news. There's 4 people, and they're all getting like triple lattes. This isn't just a cup of coffee. And I said, that's all right. Let's just start this going. The next day I came back, and they said that lasted half a day of people kept passing it on. That someone started that I don't know who it was. It might have been one of you. Because what happens if we understand that we are blessed? We need to chill out. We're blessed. We need to warm up. We've got a job to do to bless other people. What happens when you meet one chilled out person who's relaxed about everything? You become more chilled out, right? You become more relaxed. So Jesus says, why do you worry? Look at the flowers. Look how they're adorned. Don't you think your Heavenly Father that takes care of you is going to take care of you that much? And they're standing on flowers everywhere. God wants to bless you. God will bless you. God can bless you. God is blessing you. So be blessed.